After a year like 2020, it's become fairly commonplace to hear people flippantly say things like, time isn't real. But realistically, we know that isn't true, right? Well, in video games, that can kind of be the reality. In even the most heated battles, we can pause. We can put off that urgent main quest until the next decade if we get bored of being this world's hero. And of course, we can rewind and relive the same couple of minutes over and over and over again until we get an outcome that we find desirable. Except when we can't. So this is the illusion of time in video games. Before I get into the video essay, just wanted to jump in here and remind you to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more video essays like this one. And if you'd like to financially support me in producing more of this content in the future, since it's really not cheap, I have a Ko-fi page linked in my description as well as the pinned comment, but more about that at the end of the video. Recently, I lost my job. I got laid off out of absolutely nowhere after not even a year of working there. It was a complete rug pull, budget cuts, blah, blah, blah. So I decided it was time to dive headfirst into trying to do this whole creator thing full time. And it certainly has been an adjustment. There's no reminder of time more terrifying than an impending rent payment at the end of the month when being fully reliant on ad revenue, the odd streaming sponsorship, and the kindness of strangers on the internet. I mean, the passage of time in general is kind of scary, honestly. Time is basically the one thing we as humans have no control over. It's part of what makes a movie like Melancholia get under my skin. In the film, a rogue planet appears from behind the sun, on course to collide with Earth. It's a deeply personal portrayal of depression and what facing something inescapable can feel like. And the movie ends just how you think it would. It's beautifully morose. You can't outrun time. This titular planet is inevitable. A reminder of the chilling persistence of time. Running out of time is one of those things we all become more aware of as we transition into adulthood. Deadlines are everywhere, and they can lead to a lot of stress in our lives, sometimes insurmountably so. That twinge of fear is literally built into the name. And that's something you normally never have to worry about while you're sitting with a video game. You can pause and peruse that menu to your heart's content, or leave that supposed urgent quest for days, even weeks, while you worry about leveling up or whatever else you want to do. Maybe just one more karaoke jam. Or another run of Balatro. Gaming doesn't really confront you with the possibility of running out of time. You're always in this suspended state of timelessness. Until you're not. I went back to play through the Pikmin series recently after coming to the realization that I never finished any of the games as a kid. I remember loving the first and second installments, but like most games I enjoyed before I was an adult, I just had too many other games pulling at my attention. I would start a game, but be so excited by another title that I'd put it down after a few hours. And that cycle would repeat. Mountains of games stuck in a limbo of forgotten enthusiasm. It was rare that I would see a game through until credits, but anytime that I thought about going back for another attempt at powering through and fully embracing these colorful carrot creatures, I'd fire up my GameCube and be met with this. Oh yeah, the timer. After Captain Olimar crashed his ship on this post-apocalyptic Earth, he's got to find all the pieces of the SS Dolphin in order to make his way back home. And he only has 30 days of air in the tank before he just dies? Suffocating on this planet, cut off from his family and everyone he's ever known. How is this game rated E, Nintendo? It should be at least a T for existential dread alone. But the timer's inclusion does make a lot of sense. Without it, the first Pikmin entry wouldn't really have any stakes. The pressure made me take risks and tackle puzzles I would otherwise have avoided. And while later games had other ways to motivate players forward, the inclusion of this looming tick-tock, tick-tock does add a lot to the experience. And sure, this planet is crawling with enemies, but the real enemy at the end of the day is time. Your goal is essentially to defeat time itself. I mean, it doesn't get much more metal than that, especially for Nintendo. But Little Kid Otter didn't care about efficiency or time management, and even as an adult, while those mechanics are interesting to me in theory, it can just feel like another layer of stress on top of already trying to micromanage these mindless goobers. The added pressure ends up painting the relaxing backdrops of Pikmin with brushstrokes of anxiety. Like, I am clearly not cut out to be a parent.
Y'all, what the fuck are you doing? No!
At all. It's a similar experience to a JRPG with a version of the ATB battle system. That's active time battles. At this point, the JRPG is known for its methodical, turn-based combat, which I find to be really soothing. There's a nostalgic bliss to just zoning out and flipping through some menus at my leisure. Time is suspended. Each millisecond in these characters' lives could last hours if we let it. They'll still be there, in the heat of combat, bouncing back and forth patiently. But every so often, a title will want to switch things up and throw you a curveball, since there are players out there who find the classic turn-based structure to be tedious. Active time battle systems are an answer to that, often adding multiple timers to the screen at once. They keep the pace quick and make you think on your feet, and when they're done right, they can be great. But I would be lying if I told you that these timers didn't take, years off of my life. The amount of times I have fumbled through menus for a potion and chosen the wrong thing just because of these little guys. When I see a timer appear on screen, my body immediately has a physical reaction. I can feel my heart rate escalate. My palms develop a thin film of sweat. My pupils dilate. It's a mini panic attack. And it's even worse when this happens with no prior warning. In fact, time freaks me out so much. When I have an appointment or plans to meet a friend, I will regularly show up half an hour early or more. Do I need to see a therapist about my anxiety? Yes, but I know I'm not alone here. This is by no means a unique talking point. The distaste gamers have for time limits in general is not a secret. Plenty of people have made videos about it, and developers know it. Just look at Dredge. A mostly chill fishing game with droplets of Lovecraftian horror. It's one of my favorite left field genre mashups out there. And with content updates, including the Icy The Pale Reach DLC, it seems like there's no end to what this game has to offer. The amount of time I've spent just spacing out, filling out my fish Rolodex, and slowing down, it's so relaxing. Mostly. But the game initially included missions that could be failed if not completed within a certain amount of time, and players weren't hooked on that idea. I remember flipping over to my list of quests and being smacked by all those countdowns. It felt like there was a schism between the rest of the game's fishing routes and the tension a timer like that introduces. Chill fishing and hectic time management. It didn't really work. But in Black Salt Games' first big content update after release, they notably removed timed quests from their game, amidst other changes and additions. While these quests having timers made logical sense, it just wasn't very fun. Especially when players felt that they signed up for a fishing experience, not a time management sim. Dredge just didn't benefit from these ticking clocks, and there was already more than enough nautical stress coming from these gnarled and twisted monstrosities lurking in the inky darkness of night. But are there moments where a game adding this artificial impending doom can actually help the experience? Each level in the Psychonauts series deals with a different character's hang-ups or trauma. In this level, you're sailing the seas of a man's alcoholism. The famous Milkman level is paranoia personified. And in this casino hospital hybrid, you're helping a woman break her gambling addiction that you caused. But at first, in this game show, it might not be immediately obvious what the deal is. It's kind of an anomaly of a level, right? It's sort of small, with only one real area to explore. But upon dropping into Compton's mind, I was forced to compete in a game show called And from the title, I figured I had this in the bag. After all, I'm no stranger to doing exactly that. You know? Throughout the game show, I was tasked with cooking 3 dishes for these,
moderately pleasant
judges. I took each ingredient to a designated station to blend, boil, and chop them before bringing them back to the main stage, all within the allotted time. The first 2 recipes went pretty smoothly, with a fumble here or there, but it wasn't until the 3rd round that things started to really heat up. I boiled this honey pot, threw an egg onto a sizzling pan, and chopped some pork to fry that up too. And then I had one last ingredient and about a minute to spare. So how hard could that be? I got the watermelon, chopped it up, and tossed it in the blender. And I stood there, watching the watermelon blend, and blend, and blend, and then I failed. I ran out of time, and I didn't get to try again. I even tried reloading my save, but the game auto-saved right after my failure. And as someone who grew up on Banjo-Tooie and the Lego Movie tie-in games, wanting all available collectibles is hardwired into my DNA at this point. What do you mean I can't get that reward? Fuming, I moved forward with the brain-hopping plot, but after wrapping up the Technicolor hijinks of Raz's journey, I went back into Compton's mind to see if I could try that last round of the game show again, and there it was. The steamer trunk tag just sitting there. The timer never actually mattered at all, and it's not even linked to an achievement. And upon realizing that, I was a little confused. Why include this massive source of stress and a dangling carrot on a stick of a prize if it doesn't even matter at all in the end? If I can't, but then I realized that's the whole point. Compton's Cook-Off is all about anxiety. And everything about the level is supposed to induce that in you as the player. Ludonarrative harmony, baby. It's about how we build things up in our head. how we make mountains out of molehills, and how our imaginations can sabotage us. I mean, you can see Compton's hands puppeting these antagonistic, well, puppets. Or the timers. In the moment, they feel like a ticking time bomb, but in hindsight, did they ever really matter in the first place?
And speaking of quality products, it's time for a word from one of our sponsors.
Remember how much I was stressing over the looming timer in the first Pikmin game? While I streamed through the game on Twitch, I was pleasantly surprised by how much the game's timer didn't actually factor into my decision making. Since I only needed to salvage 25 of the 30 ship parts to get Olimar off the planet, the stakes weren't quite as high as they seemed to be at first. It was rare to hit sundown empty-handed, and I regularly found myself taking home 2 or even 3 ship parts each day. So, even though I thought I would be content just striving for the bare minimum, I found all 30 pieces of the SS Dolphin with several days to spare. And I was by no means as efficient as I could have been. My time management was just okay, to be honest. Timers like this, shown at the outset of a game to get us in the scarcity mindset of a character, are almost always effective, whether they mean to or not. Games with countdowns like these as a central mechanic ultimately mimic our mortality on a small scale. And after the past few years, we as a people are more aware of that mortality than ever. Time is in fact very real. Brutally so. But I think the reason games like this stick with us is the simple fact that they remind us that, yes, life is short. But in the same breath, making the most of that time isn't as impossible as it seems. The anxiety I feel around time and not being able to get it all done, it's not real. That timer over my head only exists because I put it there. And not to get too inside baseball here, but it goes as deep as these videos themselves too. There's this invisible pressure when it comes to making stuff on YouTube to stay on the treadmill and pump out content constantly. You'll see a lot of people post once a week, sometimes more. Like there's someone counting down each creator to the moment they need to post their next piece of content. I mean, look at this email I got from YouTube themselves. It's exhausting and makes it harder for a creator to be, creative. But that's what the algorithm wants and what it rewards, right? Well, it turns out the myth of the posting schedule is just like any of these other timers in video games. It's only as real as you make it. After years of posting one video essay every single month, I decided, I'd rather post when I have a great video to share. And that led me to not posting for a couple of months last year. And during that period, look what happened. This video about Psychonauts and Lovecraft, my best performing video, exploded when I was on vacation in Palm Springs of all things, months after it went live. Wild. We may not have an infinite amount of time on this planet, but if we're 5 minutes late to that appointment or we don't finish a video essay every single month, the world will keep spinning. Whether this was the intention of Pikmin, Psychonauts 2, Citizen Sleeper, Dead Rising, Majora's Mask, or any other game that employs a ticking clock, this artificial stress, it actually helped me let go of my anxiety about running out of time. At least a little bit. And if there's anything I learned while making this video, it's that we have the rest of our lives ahead of us to learn and grow and do. Breathe. Don't stress so much about the moment to moment of your life. Because living life on a countdown, that's not living. Hey there, thank you for watching the video essay. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more video essays like this one. Also, go ahead and click that like button down below because it helps the video get seen by more people, which now means more than ever. Cause yeah, I guess I'm a full-time content creator person now. Oh, and you can also find me over on Twitch. And speaking of, thank you so much to Voxamandius, Bean Fiello, Veltwalker, Cap Danvers, Robertson, Comrade Quest, Max Wattage, Lionbite, Sarah, John Lax, One's the Loneliest, Nightmare God, Paula, Dear Papaya, The Nap Taker, and Crazy Tyndall. Those are my monthly supporters over on my Ko-fi page, which is sort of like Patreon, but a lot cooler. If you want to help support this content financially, you can hop over there and become a member for as little as $4 a month, and you'll get behind-the-scenes content, sneak peeks at future video essays, and a shout out at the end here. Plus, this is new, I'll be adding ad-free and uncensored video essays over there, so that's gonna be something as well. Or you can also just drop a one-time donation if that's more your speed. Any amount helps, really, so thank you. Another way you can help support is by checking out the description box, where I have links to every video game I mention in these video essays. These are affiliate links through Humble Bundle, so I do get a small commission from them at no extra cost to you, and some of that also goes towards trans charities, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, share the video.